Hi, hello, good evening, my young officers. Welcome to this YouTube channel called as Unacademy UPSC Articulate, and this is Nisha Nujumudeen, your educator at Unacademy. So we are back with the daily news analysis for UPSC Prelims and Mains examination. So now, as far as May 17th is concerned, whatever current affairs pertaining to that from authenticated sources like the Hindu, the Indian Express, PRB, Live Mint, Business Standard, and even Rajya Sabha TV will be discussed in a short, crisp and precise manner. So now those who are looking forward for a very quick revision of that particular day's current affairs in the form of a note format and also a 360-degree coverage of the concepts or basics of the concerned topic of discussion will also be done in this particular class, followed by the daily MCQ revision and also the mains question and the practice, just to test your knowledge whether whatever you are studying, are you able to apply them into practice. Okay? Yes, Sindhuja, Ajay, Vikram, Devdarshini, good evening. Hi, Shankar. Yes, Amanda. Okay. So now every day 7 p.m. we will be having this daily news analysis, and this will be in English language. So taking into consideration all the working professionals and other people, I think evening time will be quite comfortable for all of you to come for the news analysis, right? Because morning you may not have some time. So taking into consideration all those perspective only, a topic wise coverage of current affairs is being done by me in this particular channel. Clear? And every Monday to Saturday you will have the analysis, and every Sundays will be the weekly roundup of current affairs MCQs as such. So don't miss this particular series of current affairs by me. A quick look into my profile: an economist of Government of India and also an assistant professor in Hindustan University and a top plus faculty in Unacademy. I have been teaching 73 plus GS batches with 7 years of teaching experience, and I have mentored 15 lakh plus students. Apart from that, you can just go through all the profile as well. So now, talking about the plus courses, guys, I'm also handling classes in the batches and also individual courses in the plus. Currently, 2 courses are running in the plus platform. One is a crash course in economy PT 365, another is a Prelims Sampoorna 1200 MCQs and current affairs. Below the description box of this particular channel, this particular video, you can find few links like plus class link with the title and also free class link. Click on that to make sure that you are getting into the right link for my classes. And as far as the free class is concerned, Unacademy free special classes, I do take a lot of marathon classes. Taken. And now to be a part of that, very simple. Click on the link given below the description box. There is one link for a special class exclusively that will directly take you towards all the free classes I have been taking. So we have been doing a lot of marathons like Yojana marathons, then we had budget, economic service, sab kuch. Currently PIB, Press Information Bureau MCQs exclusively we have been doing. So to get all the updates, go ahead with that. Be it the plus or the free platform, there is something called as referral code. To watch the classes and also to download the PDF sab kuch, it is the same. It is nisha.nujumudeen. Applying this, you can watch the classes for free in the special class, and also for plus subscription to get a discount of extra 10%, and also for the personal mentoring program, you can use the same code. Clear? For more details, feel free to follow me via the Unacademy profile and also the Telegram channel. And there are a lot of offers coming up in UPSC CSE of Unacademy, guys. Don't forget to grab them. Until May 19th, you are having an offer valid. Now again, taking into consideration the students' requirements, till May 26th, this one subscription offer of having extra 35% discount is going on. Grab it and make sure that you are in the right platform. And here we have, there is an option called as loan for UPSC by Unacademy. You can even avail that to get all the benefits. Clear? And every Sunday, you have the Unacademy Compact. Compete, crack, conquer MCQs, guys, both in Hindi and English. You can take it from the Android app of your phone. It's India's biggest scholarship test worth 4 crore. Okay, so those students who come under the top 500 ranks accordingly based on your ranking, you will be able to get a load of discounts in the Unacademy Plus subscription along with an extra discount using my referral code. For this Unacademy Compact, all the free class students can join. Just that, click on the link Unacademy Compact every day 11 AM, and when you want to join the class and attend the quiz means, apply the code nisha.nujumudeen. Clear? This is a method to enroll for that. The coming week also you will be having it. Perfect. So there are a lot of batches. Even I am a part of 1 year batch and also NCERT batches in the English perspective. You can enroll for all the updates. Clear? The link sab kuch is given in the description box. either plus or iconic. Go for the most suitable one as per your convenience and make sure that you are not missing up anywhere. So chalo, all ready? Yes? Okay. Let's crack UPSC CSE, my young officers, and here we go with the current affairs, discussion of the day. The Hindu, the Indian Express, the PIB, Live and Subcoach with the basic concepts, 360-degree coverage and handy notes for quick revision. So this is a must watch to crack your UPSC because current affairs is the soul of UPSC, right? And are you all ready for the big show? That is the current affairs show. So here we go. Let's have a look into the topics that we are going to cover today. If you see, as far as today is concerned, we'll be covering few articles from few authenticated sources, and mostly today's articles I've taken from the Hindu because they were quite interesting and also the content was good there. So if you take your Hindu newspaper, all of you can have a look at the content, and you can just, if you have your papers, you can just take them. Okay. So instead of reading the papers and spending 1 and 2 hours in front of that, and just by looking at the news, we are going to do a complete analysis in the note format, okay? Like why this particular news, why we are studying the important significance, issues, challenges and also way forward. So one of the topic is from Hindu, which spoke about the adoption issues to the fore as COVID-19 leaves many children orphaned, right? That was from in page number 8, you can find that. Second is a news in the context of Gaza. For 1 week we are seeing a lot of news with regard to this violence, right? That is from page number 11. Then we have another news based on, the 5 people who are killed as gale force winds rain Pumal, Kerala, Karnataka. It's from Geography Current Affairs in the very first page of your newspaper. Can you see an article? This article, yeah, that's what we'll be discussing. Then we have the editorial discussion because we know that editorial is the soul of UPSC. So here we go. So there are 4 to 5 editorial topics, guys, every time. Just open a newspaper. It is so interesting to find 4 to 5 editorial articles. It is not necessary that you will be going through every article. You can see one is talking about the roads from Ladakh is paved with disruption. There is no need for that. Whereas the second article, which talks about it's getting bad. It's getting from bad to worse women workers. That's a very, very important article in the context of COVID-19 for women workers. And apart from that, or towards the side of the editorial, the next page, you can see something based on tribunal system. Restructuring, that is also an important topic of attention as far as UPSC is concerned. Okay. So what you can do is, out of the 4 important topics, we'll be choosing only 2 important topics because that is what your UPSC requires in detail. Chances of questions to come is more from there for the mains as well as prelims perspective. Clear? Then we have the tidbits, all the other news which we do not want to miss out. So I have taken one from PIB and one from Hindu. We will be discussing about the cultural exchange program in India and Mongolia, and also the fighting resumes in southern Afghanistan. Finally, the prelims fact. Today's fact was based on India SARS-CoV-2 genomic consortia. Okay, that is in page 10. Followed by the prelims MCQs and mains questions for practice. Clear? Perfect. So this is what we'll be doing in today's class. The outcome of this particular class will be a thorough understanding of all these selected news analysis along with editorial in a perfect crystal clear manner. So here we go. The very first topic of discussion is from the subject governance. Okay. What is the topic, guys? Adoption issues to the fore as COVID-19 leaves many orphaned. Now, why this particular topic is in news is, if you see the second wave of this COVID-19, a lot of children, they have been extremely vulnerable, particularly those who have been orphaned. Their plight is very, very pathetic. So in that context, we're going to study. You would have seen this article, adoption issues to the fore, right? That is, only the district level child welfare committee, they can decide the future of these children who have lost their parents in this COVID-19 perspective. Some are vulnerable, some are orphaned, they do not know what to do because they lost both the parents to the so-called COVID-19 infection, right? Now, let's have a quick look into that. Now, as I told you, only the district child welfare committee could decide what will be the future of these kids or children who are found orphaned in such kind of pathetic situation, who have lost their parents to this so-called pandemic or coronavirus. So now, the child welfare committee, they said that they will initially make an effort to find out who are the members of the birth family and then make an assessment to the plight, to improve the plight or conditions of these children who are orphaned. Okay? And now, what is kingship care in your newspaper, in the news article? You would have seen something like that. For example, children who have faced such kind of crisis, like the loss of the family member or separation of parents because of death or desertion, they'll be experiencing a high level of emotional trauma. Mentally, they'll be affected, and at this particular tender age, when these children are mentally affected, it will have a great impact on their future growth, right? It will not enable them to come up as an active young citizen of our country, India. Rather, they'll have a lot of difficulties in their mental growth as such. So taking into consideration all these perspectives, people may think that, come on, if the parents are dead, then the parents' relatives like fathers or mothers, brothers, sisters, sab kuch can take care of them. But then not everyone is willing to do that as such, right? So one point is with regard to kingship care. That is, some people, some experts, they suggested that, chalo, let's suggest an option where adoption of such orphan children was neither the first nor the best option. And they said, let's go for a care called as kingship care, which is a very suitable alternative. And the intervention for that, don't you think so? There is required in such situations help or assistance and support for the prevention of family separation, to bring them back to the normal. And if you see the relatives of these children, they're interested to help them. In that case, they could follow what? The Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act of 56. Just because your relative doesn't mean that they'll grow in their home. There is a popular rule and regulation in which you have to follow it accordingly. Because in future, if something happens, then they should not be in a situation where they are orphaned. So for that not to happen, even the relatives, when they are interested to help these children by adopting them, they have to follow the Hindu Adoption Maintenance Act 56, or if not, the JJ Act, Juvenile Justice Act of 2015. Why? The meaning of that is, though you are the relative also, legally you are adopting or having a custody of this particular child under the so-called Guardianship and Wards Act of 1890. So you can see so many acts coming up. So for the prelims examination, Juvenile Justice Act of 2015, in the context of NCPR, National Committee for National Children's Protection Committee, guys, for protecting their rights. Okay, in that perspective also question can come. So please go through that. Clear? Okay. And thus the state government has said that in this particular news article, they must make kinship care part of the child protection system, like the Maharashtra's Bal Sangopan Yojana, where through this particular Yojana, the state can actually grant a lot of support exclusively in the context of education of, let's say, ₹1,000 per month to families. So then they'll be able to look after the orphan children. Though 1,000 is a small amount as well, but still at least that has been what the state government of Maharashtra is doing. And this article has been taken from the Hindu. You can see that article, right? That so-called big article we have just studied in hardly 2 or 3 slides. That is enough. Just in 2 slides we saw what that article is. These are the important points which you should study from that particular article in today's newspaper. Nothing more, nothing less. And start connecting these keywords with regard to your UPSC Prelims MCQ pattern. So you will understand what to study and what not to study. Clear? Yes, Varsha. Hindu Lucknow edition. See, whichever edition it is fine. I have taken the Delhi edition. See, the only difference is in the regional news, guys. Apart from that, the main news will be the same. Okay? Perfect. See, I am from Kerala, but I am taking the Delhi edition. Doesn't mean that I can't go for Kerala edition. I have been used to the practice for a long time, so I prefer the Delhi edition. That's all. Now, the next important topic of discussion in today's newspaper is from International Relations, IR. The most interesting topic. So, when we study IR, how do we study, my young officers? We study with regard to the Mahabharata, right? How? Pandavas, Kauravas, India, Pakistan. And who is the one who plays the role of Shaguni there? China, right? That's how we used to study. Anyways, here we go with another important topic of discussion of IR. And the topic talks about what? Gaza. So for quite 1 week, we have been seeing this issue, right? The violence that is happening. So the UNSC, UN Secretary General, pleaded for what? An immediate end to the so-called deadly violence happening in Gaza. And they even gave a lot of warning that such kind of fighting or conflict, the Jagada, could really plunge and damage the entire region into a situation that is, with regard to the security perspective, that is, it will literally put this region, entire region, into an uncontainable security and humanitarian crisis. So basically, in this particular perspective only, we are going to study this topic. Clear? Okay. Now, To end the violence in Gaza, if you see, the UNSC is literally calling for it, putting some recommendations for that. Let's have a look into that. Now, can you see this article, guys, in your newspaper? We can just have a look into it. In the previous day and all, if you see, you would have seen the word called as Iron Dome. IRONDOM. Remember, that was from the science and tech perspective, not from IR, but that is connected to this. But I will be quickly telling you what is Iron Dome as well. Do not worry. So, a lot of keywords are once again repeated in this particular article. So, what we will do is we will pick the most important thing because it is a continuing news. Clear? Perfect. So, this news we are just quickly going to analyze them in hardly 2 or 3 slides. And here we go. Now, we know that a little of details regarding this particular news is the heaviest fighting was taking place in years, and that has been sparked by what? The unrest in Jerusalem. We all know that. And it is said that the Israel army, okay, they said that about 3,000 rockets had been fired from the coastal strip towards Israel. And that has been the highest ever. They even agreed to that. And out of the 3,000 rockets, 450 failed launches fell in the Gaza Strip. And the so-called missile system of Israel, called as Iron Dome anti-missile. This particular topic comes under science and tech. Individually, you have to have an understanding of the system called as Iron Dome anti-missile system. In the science and tech we discussed, but once again I will tell you. And now, keeping in mind the so-called missile system of Israel, they said that they had intercepted how many rockets? Oh my goodness, look at the number, 1,000 rockets. Fatafat, they are playing with rockets, I think, guys. And now, what is the intensity of this war or conflict? It is too much. The intensity is too much that it is causing a lot of emergency or unpredicted or precedented conditions with non-stop airstrikes in the densely populated Gaza and rockets reaching big cities in Israel. Fatafat, everywhere destruction is happening. So don't you think so? It's high time that we are gonna put an end to this kind of violence which is happening in Gaza? Yes, it is. That is what this particular topic is discussing about. Clear? Now, since we were discussing regarding the Iron Dome anti-missile, it is very important from the prelims perspective to have an understanding of what that is. Take care. What is that? Let's quickly look into it. It is from the science and tech current affairs perspective. Basically, Iron Dome is nothing but it's a multi-mission system. Now, through the system, you will be able to intercept the rockets. Not only rockets, even the artillery, then the mortars, and also certain precision guided munitions also, which are having a very short range air defense system. Take care. Now, along with it, if you see even, your aircraft, your helicopters, and even unmanned aerial vehicles, all these things literally, this particular system called as Iron Dome system is capable of. And that is what they have been using. Who's using, guys? Israel is using. Take care. Now, in every weather, no matter what is the weather condition, this Iron Dome system can be utilized. And they can engage multiple targets simultaneously. At the same time, they can have multiple targets. And even in sea and land, in both perspectives, they can be deployed. So that is the advantage of this system of Israel called as Iron Dome system. And this Iron Dome is what? The mobile variant with all the components on a single truck. And what is Sea Dome? It's the naval version of the deployment on ship. So I is with all the components and C is with in the context of ship. So this is a major difference. Please have a look at it. Clear? That was for you to just understand what is the system called as Iron Dome system. Take care. Now, back to the topic of discussion. That is, we were discussing regarding what? Regarding this Gaza's problem, right? We have to end violence in Gaza. Now, we were talking about the intensity of this conflict. What is happening? It's causing a lot of violence and issues in this particular place. Now, a look into the genesis of this particular Iron Dome. Because they're using this is because since 2006, I can tell you this Iron Dome system was there. That too, in the Israel-Lebanon war also you can see the usage of this. Okay, well, lot of rockets the Hezbollah fired thousands of rockets to Israel. And the very same year, 2006 again, what happened? Israel announced that the straight run Rafale advanced system, they will also come up with a new air defense system. So they'll be able to protect their people and cities from all this attack. And for that particular purpose, they again developed that with the Israel Aerospace Industries. And in the year 2011, this particular system called as Iron Dome was actively deployed or put into force. Clear? All these are the concept clearing, guys, based on this. So no matter whatever questions come, you can answer. And this is like how does the so-called Iron Dome work. Okay, basically it has a battery, and this battery consists of a battle management control unit. It also, you can track radar, you can have a production, and it also has a firing unit with 3 vertical launchers. And if you see each of the missiles now, they have 20 interceptor missiles, guys, each they have. And that is basically to to detonate the target boarded in the air. This is how the Iron Dome system actually work. And one of the most important advantage of using this Iron Dome system is nothing but it has a lot of ability where you can start identifying the anticipated or the future point of impact of the threatening rocket. And they can even decide on this basis whether or not to engage. They can calculate whether it will fall in a build-up area or not. So all these things they can understand using the system. That's the biggest benefit or advantage of using what? The so-called Iron Dome anti-missile system. Clear? You may get questions based on this, in your examination as well, based on consider the following statements on Iron Dome. That's why I gave you this. Now, what you can do for this kind of issue? We know that Israel and Palestine, what are they doing? They are fighting in the name of God and they are praying to God, to give them a solution. That is what the newspaper also spoke the other day, right? If you see, the way forward, a solution that you can do for this particular issue is very simple. The UN, Qatar and Egypt, they are trying to broker a ceasefire, right? So thus, the so-called trust deficit, the gap of trust that they have between Israel and Palestine is actually causing all this issue. So now the trust gap or deficit between these two countries and authorities, that is increasing day by day, because there have been no direct negotiation between the two. So efforts must be taken to ensure that such kind of trust deficit is being removed. And it is very, very important that all the required conditions or environments have been created so that they'll be able to resume talks between the Israel and Palestine, and such kind of conflicts and war can be put to an end. The entire globe is facing the COVID-19 pandemic in a very pathetic way. In spite of that, you see in another part of the world what's happening. Fatafat jagdas, conflict, bombing, that, this, etc. So is this required? Compared to coronavirus and COVID-19, this seems to be really ridiculous. But still people are doing that. This is actually adding more, fire, oil into the fire to burn it more. Problems over problem, right? This is also a news which has been taken from the Hindu. Clear? Now, the next important topic we have is from geography. It's a very interesting topic. Open a newspaper. In the very first, page itself, you have 5 killed as gale force winds rain Pimal, Kerala, Karnataka. So, did you see the news? Yeah. So it's a beautiful news given in that, and the continuation of that happens in page number 8 as well, as a big article. Now, in this particular news, what they are trying to show you, they are saying that the cyclone called as Taukte, right? It's very, very severe, and they say this particular cyclone which we are predicting is expected to cross Gujarat coast this evening, matlab today evening. Okay, so let's see what is the news article regarding this all about. So Kerala, the state of Kerala has been highly affected. We know that, not only Kerala, even Karnataka, but Kerala mostly because of wind and rain and all, right? So now this is a topic which we have taken from geography actually, okay? Geography current affairs. Why we are studying this? So this Taukte cyclone, all these things for past few days we are seeing in the news. So today what is so special regarding this is something called as wind, that is gale force wind. So gale force wind, heavy rainfall and high tidal waves. Okay, what happened? All these three together, they swept the coastal belt of Kerala, Karnataka and Goa. Because of this, cyclone Taukte hurtled northward towards Gujarat, and they said by this evening it will be hitting Gujarat. Clear? And if you see in the 16th May news what we discussed, the cyclonic storm Taukte was covered in detail. That is yesterday. You can just go through that as well. Clear? Now, let us quickly have a look into what is this gale force wind that the news is talking about. You can just see in the newspaper they are talking about the gale force wind. The first paragraph talks about it is reaching Gujarat. Second talks about the meteorological department, the intensity, and the third one talks about the high intensity, high wave warnings and all. But nowhere they spoke about what is this wind all about, right? So it's very important for you to know when you study geography as to what is the meaning or what is actually this wind all about. Now, a gale force wind is nothing but it's a very strong, continuous or persistent wind. And what is the speed of this wind? It is having a minimum speed of 50 km per hour. And maximum they can travel up to 1 or 2 km per hour, which is typically associated with the coastal region. So Kerala, Karnataka and all, of course Kerala, they are the coastal regions, right? And now typically these strong winds, because of a rapid drop in air pressure only, you can find such kind of winds called as what? Winds called as gale force wind. And they are being, even associated with cyclones as well. And the cyclones, basically they are classified on the basis of what? Wind speed. And here we have one called as gale force wind in today's newspaper. Clear? Now, when can you call such kind of gale force wind as cyclonic storm? For example, when a rapid drop in air pressure increases, okay, because of strong winds, you have such kind of gale force winds, right? Now, if the deep depression develops a gale force wind, then that will speed that wind will speed up between, let's say, 63 to 88 kilometers, which is in the category of maximum. Maximum is 1 or 2 km per hour, but still it is in the more than minimum category. That time, this particular wind will become a storm called as cyclonic storm. Clear? Now, according to Indian Meteorological Department, what is the news telling? The news is telling that the so-called cyclone, which is currently over here, the Tokte cyclone, it has intensified into very severe storm, that is cyclonic storm. And they said that today evening, hopefully, I'm not sure, maybe evening or night, they are like to reach the Gujarat coast. We have to wait and see. And if you see in Kerala, the situation is so pathetic that almost many dams they are opening up, right? And the water level in many dams across Kerala, it raised so high after the heavy rains. And lot of buildings, lot of homes, sab kuch has been damaged and destroyed because of this as well. And in that context, if you see, along with the Indian Meteorological Department, the Indian National Center for Ocean Information Service, they also made a forecast or prediction regarding the damage over Porbandar, that is Gujarat area, then Amerli Juganar, Gir Somnath, Bothad, Bhavnagar and also the coastal areas of Ahmedabad and Gujarat, where they will also be facing the after effect of this particular gale force wind as a result of this cyclone Tote. Clear? So this is taken from the source Hindu, this particular news from the very first page. Okay. Now, the next news is with regard to the editorial perspective, guys. So, it's time for us to get into editorials. All of you open page number 8 and 9. You can find the beautiful editorial articles put up there. So, now here we go. The very first editorial article. And now the category is social issue because it talks about the women workers. So, now from the social issue we have, and the title was what? It's getting from bad to worse for women workers. So, the so-called half a page article is being discussed in hardly 4 to 5 slides in a very short and quick and crisp manner. And what is the context, guys, in which we are studying this? In the context of WEF, World Economic Forum Global Gender Gap Report. In that particular context, we are going to study. Because recently, if you see, in the 2021 WEF Global Gender Gap Report, what was the position of our country, India? We have slipped from 112 to 140 among 156 countries. That is indeed pathetic, right? Literally we slipped. We were at 112, but now we became 140 in the so-called Global Gender Gap Index. So day by day we are supposed to improve, not decrease, but rather this showed a bad performance. And out of the 4 pillars of the index, guys, Global Gender Gap Report Index, our country India, we suffered this low rank mainly because of lack of economic participation of the females. So females have been recognized socially, economically, financially, fundamentally, politically, but still when you take the majority, the economic participation is somewhere or the other lacking. Clear? Have you read this article? It's beautifully given by 2 people, Rosa and Amit Basole, guys. One person is a senior research fellow from Azim Premji University. Both are from there, and one is a professor, associate professor as well, I believe. Yeah. So now, this is an article given by them from their point of view. So, we are going to study this article after analyzing and reading them from UPSC perspective. What is supposed to be understandable, we'll understand and we will study. Okay? That's how we are going to analyze this particular article. So now, we all know that the so-called COVID-19 pandemic, literally it has destroyed the livelihood of millions of people in our country, India, putting them into poverty. The last 15 years of achievements that our country, India, has made with regard to the reduction in poverty, at one night, because of this pandemic, it has been completely shattered. right? That is why the World Bank came with a report called as Poverty and Prosperity Report of 2020, showing that there is something called as new poor. We may think that the poor people belong only to the urban area, rural areas, but that's not the case. Even the people in the urban areas, they have been ending up in a great disastrous situation as such. The middle class people were put up in lower middle class, the lower middle class to the poor category, and the poor to the even pathetic category, the vulnerable category. So what is happening? Even the ones who can afford, they lost the employment, sab kuch like that. So Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan was put forward. The 20 lakh crore economic stimulus package, which comes under the self-reliant India mission, right? So all these things were happening. Now, in this particular context, though all these poverty all these things are there also, when you talk about the women workers, it's not just the males or the men's out there, but rather the women workers in particular, they have borne a disproportionate burden, I can tell you, when the country is facing the second wave of this COVID-19 pandemic. So it's very, very essential for us to have a look into the situation of women workers as such. And coupled with the report of the index, Global Gender Gap Report, it even showed that the situation is very, very worse. We can't say bad, but rather worse for the female or the women workers, where the gender index or report is also having a huge, setback. Clear? So now, basically gender inequality, when you talk about that, it subsists in the Indian economy as in any other sectors like your health, education, politics, sab kuch like that. And if you see the participation of female in our country, India is very less. Previously, it was less than 19%. Today, if you see, the labor participation is just not 50% or anything. Rather, it's only 22% for our country, India. And is one of the lowest in the entire world. Comparable countries are even having better, percentage of participation of women. That is 50% they have. But what about us? Not even 30 we have. Less than that, just 22. So all these points are important from the UPSC Prelims perspective. MCQs can be framed and asked from this topic in this way. Clear? That is the reason I have been giving you point-wise analysis of this editorial topic. Clear? The next one. The next point to be noted with regard to gender inequality is there's a huge gap between both the genders, men and women across the country. And that is also a marked feature for us. And we know that despite the fact, we can't say that the reservation women's have not increased or we are not been doing great. Despite the fact that the number of women's, have been increased in jobs also, still, with regard to the percentage of jobs, we are lagging behind. The number of vacancies, reservations, sab kuch female has increased. But when it comes to percentage, why it is less? Thus, the gender employment gap is substantial given that how many percentage? Just 18% of working age women, they are employed. I repeat, 18% of working age women, they are employed compared to 75% of men. And this is a statistics before the pandemic, pre-pandemic statistics. Okay? Now in the pandemic, we know what is happening. The situation is like ulta for every gender. And the reasons why, it's because women cannot work in any zone as such. She cannot work in an unhygienic environment just like that, right? So lack of good jobs, restrictive social rules, regulations or norms, and the burden of household work. The third one is very important. Though opportunities are there, still we belong to a kind of patriarchal society where the so-called burden of household work is put up in the head of the female, saying that it is the women who has to take care of that. See, me being a woman, let me tell you, household work means the whole point is home is a place where everybody is living. So let's equally share the burden. Let's equally have a thought of holding each other's hands rather than putting the burden into one particular gender just like that. And then telling on one side, you do this and you do that also. What logic it makes? We are not superhumans, right? So this kind of thing has to change. Clear? And these are the absolute reasons. So let's have a look into the economic impact of this pandemic on the women workers. Why is the situation moved from bad to worse? So if this pandemic, we know that it brought a load of massive disruption to our country, India, exclusively labor market. And this article talks about the women perspective exclusively. A lot of people, if you see, they were unemployed, and suddenly when no employment is there, what happens? The income flow decreases. When the income flow decreases, what happens? No living standard, your per capita GDP, sab kuch comes down. At the end of the day, low growth and development. And the factor called poverty is on the rise because people are starving. The hunger is also increasing. Now, in the context of hunger and poverty, another important prelims topic to be considered is Global Hunger Index. Global Hunger Index. So as per the recent data 2020-21, what does it talks about? It talks about a country India in a pathetic position. We are ranking 94 out of 102 countries, but doesn't mean that the rank is good. The number of countries previously, it was 117. Out of those countries, we were 102. But today the rank is 94. Just because the number of total countries reduced. That is why the rank also is shown as 94. Still, we are put up in the serious category of hunger. Okay. So India requires a lot of attention. In the context of GDP, gross domestic product, we are literally in the rank in the top 5 countries, the entire globe in statistics. But when you talk about the economic, social perspective, like hunger, poverty, why is this not improving? Then in what way can you call your country India so developed? Of course, we are developing, but then so many important notable factors like this, notable social evils and factors like this have to be rectified then and there, right? Anyways, now back to what I was telling you. Now this pandemic, apart from leading to poverty, with regard to the gender inequality also, it has really worsened the situation. That is why the article was titled as "From Bad to Worse, the plight or the conditions of female workers have gone up." Clear? And more than men, it is said that this pandemic has affected the females the more. The women workers in particular, they are bearing a disproportionate burden of the pandemic and all the associated lockdown that is happening in the country, which is again a necessity, right? Don't you think so there is a widening economic gap because of this? Yes. Again, if you see the data that you get from CMIE, what is that? Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. Basically, this is one center, one of the private center which collects data, which has all the database of our country, and it is one of the private centers which conducts survey on a large scale. They are one of the largest centers for conducting surveys after census. Okay, it's authenticated as well, though they are private. So data from CMIE, they show that 61% of male workers were unaffected during lockdown, while 19% of women experienced this kind of work security. See, 61% male workers, they were not affected even in this lockdown. But look at the ratio of females. It is just 1/9, not even 30 or 35% compared to male workers. Only few had the security in the work that they did. Lot of females, they lost the job, irrespective of the industry they were employed. People will think that daily people are employed in daily works then, and construction works and such kind of works only women's lost the job. No, in a lot of the good, even the IT industries, the so-called industry, IT industry also, a lot of females lost their jobs compared to males. Clear? And unlike men, if you see, who had the option of moving into fallback employment arrangements like self-employment, daily wage work, women had very few options. They didn't have such kind of options as such. That is again one reason again why employment became a difficulty for them. So the gap was actually widening. What gap? The economic gap. And if you see, 47% of employed women, they lost jobs during lockdown. Look at the keyword employed women. They lost nearly 50%, guys, as per the data. And now these people who lost the job, these females, they never even returned to work also. What about men? They lost the job, but it's very, very less, just 7% compared to the females. And nearly half of the women workers, whether they are salaried category or whether they are self-employed or casual or whatever, or whether withdrew from the workforce, as compared to only 11% of men. For the men category, it was just 11% who lost that. Whereas women, it is half the population of women, half the women working population. Clear? Of the women workers, I mean, nearly half the women workers. Clear? Now, it was easy for the males to come back to work, and if you see 47, near about majority of women lost their job. Employed people, women who lost their job during lockdown, they never had not returned back to work also. Even as new entrants to workforce, the women workers, they had a very, very poor or bad options compared to men. And more likely women were to enter as daily wage workers. Whereas when women did that, what did men do? They found avenues for them in the context of self-employment. Again, the self-employment, because that has been on the rise, and the Ministry of Industry also said that the MSME, micro, small, medium enterprises, that should be on the rise, where that supports all this kind of self-employment activities, right? Automatically, it leads to more precarious work and lower earnings compared to men. So, with regard to the earning capacity also, it became less. Now they got some job, but then the income or the earning is too less. So don't you think so? Again, the gap is widening? Absolutely. This has to be taken into consideration. Now, what about the growing domestic work, the household work? If you see, with lockdowns in place, and almost everyone we are put up in the four walls of a home these days, right? So, the responsibility, what responsibility? Household responsibility for females increased. That's what I told you. When we are in a home, men and women, both are eating, both are drinking water, both are human beings with blood, flesh and bone in their body. What is that thing that only the female should do when you sit on the table with your legs crossed and have the food? What nonsense is that? Seriously, not because I'm a female, I'm telling this to you. Everybody, see, I have my father, my brother, everybody. So then we don't teach them like that, or they don't teach us like that. Everybody is equally important. So when the household responsibility is being increased, women try to share it. And there has been too much of massive burden of household work in women as well. Because children will be 24/7 at home, the mess that they do, then cooking for the female, then working from home for the female. In the professional perspective, they'll be totally mentally disturbed, which actually brings down their efficiency to a greater extent. Now, as per the India Working Survey 2020, what did they found out? They found out among employed men, the number of hours spent on paid work remained more or less unchanged even after the after the pandemic. But women, it kept on increasing because of the domestic work that they had. So the increase in this household work, it never came with any relief in the hours spent on paid work. So that's a double stress on the mental perspective as such. Don't you think so? So now, especially for the married women, okay, I'm talking, it could lead to a situation where these females and women from large households, they are less likely to return to work. First of all, they burden with so many things. It's better to quit the job and take care of the people of their family rather than to go back, because they're too much. They are burdened with a lot of works, and they're suggesting that the burden of care may be the reason for poor employment recovery. Come on, look at that word, burden of care. See, care is never a burden, but because of too much of pressure now and this lockdown situation, the burden of care will be the reason, could be the reason for this poor employment recovery is what the article suggests. This kind of points have to be noted, don't you think so? It's a very meaningful article today, which I found in the newspaper. Now, what you can do for this? So here we go, 2 to 3 recommendations, guys, or the measures which can be suggested. So as far as this particular topic and issue is concerned, the recommendations or the way forward is, you have some short-term measures, okay, in the context of Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. You should expand that. And next is introduction of urban employment guarantee for the women who are targeted. Next, there should be some sort of efforts, coordinated efforts by states to facilitate employment of female by prioritizing the opening of schools, Anganwadi centers, etc., where they will have some sort of opportunities. And next is that the government should consider the hardship people are facing in this COVID-19 perspective, and at least 5,000 per month for 6 months for 2.5 million accredited social health activities and Anganwadi workers should be given. Because most of the Anganwadi workers and the social health activities, your ASHA workers, most of them are females, right? So at least such kind of contribution can be given by the government in this hardship. That is another short-term measure. Clear? Doesn't mean that you will only go for short-term measures. That is for the immediate recovery. But long-term, keeping in mind all the after effects, you can even go with the National Employment Policy, which is currently in the work. That should actually, be more and more brought in, that should be more and more available, because such kind of policy will literally, enable the women to address the constraints they have regarding the participation of them in the workforce, both with regard to the availability of work and the responsibilities in the households that they have. They'll be able to manage it, okay? And also the government, they say they have to come with a lot of policies in the future for sectors where the participation of women can be very important, both in the current and emerging. That is, currently if you see healthcare, IT, education, agriculture, yes, the participation of women is very important. And if you see the emerging sectors of these days, like the so-called blockchain technology, the artificial intelligence, again, train and educate the women to that particular perspective as well, so they are getting employment and they are getting their lives settled. Clear? So don't you think so? These kind of measures is indeed required. So these are the short-term and long-term recommendations or measures put forward for this so-called social issue. Clear? So this is how this beautiful article was put forward. I hope you really like the article. Apart from that, there are so many other perspectives as such. You can just go through policies for inclusion, which will help progress in career, with upskilling the people. See, women are skilled, but then giving them a little of extra training, like upskilling them, giving some flexibility to them, like special leave, wage parity, hybrid working model, so on like that. Clear? And don't you think it's very important? Because both the government and the business must join hands to empower female economically. Because it's very, very obvious that the social benefit of gender equality is very much connected to the entire economic growth and development, because that will give a boost or increase toward the gross domestic product of our nation in one or the other way, because majority of people are put up in the female population category. That is why. Clear? And that was a beautiful article which has been analyzed and given in the Hindu, and we've analyzed them beautifully, I feel. So in this particular format, you study for the examination. This is enough. Now you go and read the article. Fatafat, you'll understand what to study, what not to study from that particular article. Clear? Because giving the same news over here doesn't make a sense. You have to analyze them, and from the UPSC perspective, what are the keywords in which you'll get questions? That matters a lot. That is why. The next important editorial article over here is with regard to polity and governance. We have restructuring the tribunal system. A small editorial article. Okay. That is, recently the central government, they abolished several appellate tribunals and authorities. And also, they transferred the jurisdiction also to the existing judicial bodies, etc. For that, they did that. Simply, they can't do. They have to do them through some tribunal reforms called as Tribunal Reforms, Rationalization and Condition of Service Ordinance 2021. So, why the central government abolished? Why they transferred? What was the reason for that? So, in this particular context, we're going to analyze this news. Clear? And this article basically you can just see on the side of the editorial. You can see beautifully they have put up. Let's have a look into why it has been like this. That is, as far as the tribunals in our country, India is concerned, okay, the Tribunal Reforms Ordinance of 21. Literally, it has been challenged even where in the Supreme Court, and they even met a lot of criticism because of so many reasons. One is because of bypassing the normal legislative procedure. That is, by taking the so-called ordinance route, now the government, they seem to have bypassed the usual process. What process? Legislative process. Thus, they literally deprive the legislature now of the right to discuss a little bit on the issues. That was one reason why they faced a criticism. Take care. Second is the impact of abolition of tribunals. Just like that they abolished, but they had a lot of impact on that. For example, the abolishing of some tribunals like Film Certification Appellate Tribunal without even consulting the stakeholders. It found to have a lot of impact on the stakeholders. And despite the decisions, despite the Supreme Court direction, guys, in the Roger Matthew versus South Indian Bank 2019 case, no proper judicial impact assessment was also conducted. Again, that was one such reason which made such kind of tribunals face a lot of criticism. The next one, the judicial direction, they totally went against that. So now, in few of the cases that you can see, the ordinance has incorporated suggestions made in Madras Bar Association versus Union of India case of 2020. Again, the Search Cum Selection Committee and the role it had in all the disciplinary proceedings, sab kuch had a total, ulta effect. So automatically they went against judicial direction, and that was also one of the reasons why such kind of tribunal faced criticism. Now let's quickly have a look into what is NTC. There is something called as non-commission of NTC. That is also one of the reasons. Now the central government, they are yet to constitute a commission called as National Tribunal Commission. Okay? And this is nothing but an independent umbrella body. Through this particular body, their duty is to supervise the functioning of tribunals, then regarding the appointments, regarding the certain disciplinary proceedings and all against the members, and also to make sure that all the administrative and infrastructural needs are being taken care of. And if you see, this is not a new concept as such. Since 97 you have, that is, the idea of this NTC was first mooted in a case, that is Chandrakumar versus Union of India case in 97. Clear? Now, do you think there's the importance of this NTC? There is, because they could actually pave way for the separation of administrative and judicial functions carried out by various tribunals. And this NTC functioning as an umbrella authority, they can even support what? A lot of administration, that is uniform or a similar administration across all the tribunals. Look at the keyword, all. So there is no segregation or separation as such. Everything is included in this. Clear? You can just go through all those things regarding NTC. Those many points are enough. This is just for your understanding. So in the notes you can go through. Clear? Now, here it is time for us to go in, to have a look into the tidbits of the day, the miscellaneous news. The first news is fighting resumes in southern Afghanistan. Why this particular topic we are studying is because today, if you see in the newspaper, you can see that there was a fight between Taliban and Afghan government. Both the forces. It again started, ending a 3-day ceasefire agreed to mark Eid ul-Fitr. Oh my God, fir they started again. Jagda, pata nahi kya hai wo hai. They were waiting for Eid ul-Fitr to get over, I think. So again it started. And one more thing, in 15th May 2021, the same topic has been covered in the current affairs, guys. You can even refer back to those notes. Now, as far as what is concerning today's newspaper, you can see fighting resumes in southern Afghanistan, right? So let's have a look into what this article is all about, what they are telling. You can see some keywords like don't blame us, that, this, etc., etc. Let's see what it is all about in a short and crisp manner. The background, why we are studying this is because why this particular topic is, the background of that is, see, for you to have a better understanding, okay, if you see the President Joe Biden of UK, President Joe Biden of US, he announced the withdrawal of what? The US troop. He said that, chalo, let's announce the withdrawal of US troop from Afghanistan by 11 September in the effort to end the America's longest war. Now, the deadline for the withdrawal put forward by President Biden was significant as September 11, 2021 is yet to come. That is 20 years after the 9/11 terror attack in New York, Washington DC, guys. Okay. Because this only led US to target Afghanistan. And if you see, around 7,000 non-US forces, mainly from all the NATO, North American Treaty Organization allied countries, they are also from Australia, New Zealand, Georgia, sab kuch. All together, they made up a number of 2,500 US troops in Afghan. And they also announced a withdrawal from Afghan in coordination with what a US pulled out. So in this particular background only, we are going to study this. Clear? And that's why it is said that the fighting still resumed in southern Afghanistan. Clear? And all these news, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, all the paragraphs in just hardly 2 or 3 points have summed up here the background. You can just go through that. Clear? That is enough, not much. Because the same thing again and again repeating will make it very boring for you. So I didn't want to do that. Yes, guys? Are you all able to understand very clearly here? Any doubt? Now the next important news is cultural exchange program between India and Mongolia. Why this particular topic is in news is recently the Minister of State for Culture, okay, they discussed regarding various issues under the cultural exchange program with the Mongolian counterpart. In that particular context, we are going to discuss. So between India and Mongolia, we planned for a cultural exchange program. Again, this topic was covered in 15th May, guys, but still we are quickly going to have a look into this. It's an important topic. And this is taken from the PIB, that is why. In Press Information Bureau, again, beautifully this article is revised. So I thought I should bring to your attention as well. And what were the highlights of this particular meet? If you see, regarding this cultural exchange program, this is strengthening the strategic partnership which is established between India and Mongolia since 2015. And this exchange program, cultural exchange program between these two countries stands renewed until which year? 2023, for 2 more years. And 10 dedicated scholarships called as ICCR scholarship for studying Tibetan Buddhism. That was also given to whom, guys? Given for Mongolians. So then they'll be able to study in all the particular institutes of CIBs, Leh and Kutch, Varanasi, etc., etc., which starts from 2020 to 21. Currently, nothing is offline, everything is online. Okay? These were the highlights of the meet. Followed by, if you see your ICCR, the Indian Council for Cultural Relations, they also, actively had a part in this, right? Because if you see the ICCR, you can see in the previous slide, they only dedicated 10 scholarships, right? So now it's important for us to know what is ICCR as well. Because for the prelims perspective, you need to understand the concept. So let's quickly have a look into it. Basically, they are an autonomous organization. Please look into this. Sometimes UPSC can confuse you with the keyword. Indian Council for Cultural Relations is statutory, independent and all. Rather, they are autonomous, okay, of the government of India. And they are involved in a country, India's external, with the other countries' cultural relations through all the exchange program, cultural exchange program, which we have with the other people and country. And if you see Tibetan Buddhism, it combines the teachings of Mahayana Buddhism and Tantric and Shamanic and all from the ancient Tibetan religion called Bon. So in that particular perspective only, they wanted to go for this cultural exchange program as such. Clear? And as far as India is concerned, also Buddhism holds a greater place. Now that is why this cultural exchange was highly notified as well. And if you see in this particular cultural exchange, the Ministry of Culture, they wanted to complete reprinting of about 100 sets of sacred Mongolian Kanjur by the year 2022. So you will be able to distribute them in the main centers of Buddhism where in Mongolia. Clear? And I have taught you this also in the MCQs. Out of 108 volumes totally, 5 volumes have already been have already received the accent of president for publishing, and remaining volumes are yet waiting to get it published. Clear? And Kanjur means what? Conscience order in Mongolian language. That is, they follow the conscience order, the word of Lord Buddha in particular. The keyword Kanjur, the keyword 108 volumes and the keyword 2022, and so far 5 sets volumes have been completed. These are the keywords revolving which a prelims questions can come from this area. Okay? And regarding the international cooperations, we know that Mongolia has publicly reiterated the support for India's membership to the permanent seat of the expanded UNSC, United Nations Security Council. You can just go through, and even our country has played a very, very important role with regard to what the membership of Mongolia as well, right? Which includes the UN, despite the strong opposition we had to face from China and Taiwan. But still, India also championed the inclusion of Mongolia in the so-called NAM, Non-Aligned Movement. So these are a couple of other important keywords to be noted in this particular topic. Clear? And don't you think so India as a member? Yes, absolutely. That is in a reciprocal gesture. I can tell you this Mongolia, okay, they co-sponsored a 1972 UN resolution with India and Bhutan. Why? They did that for a better recognition of the newly liberated Bangladesh. Apart from this, the other forums where both the countries are members is the Asia-Europe meeting, ASEM, and WTO, World Trade Organization. Now, India is a member. What about Mongolia? They are having only an observer status at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The keyword member, the keyword observer, the keyword ratified or yet to be ratified, all these things are, and signatory, the keyword signatory. All these keywords are twisting keywords which you can get for the UPSC Prelims question, guys, from the concerned topic. So try to have a proper understanding of that as well. Clear? In the defense cooperation and sab kuch, one second, excuse me. Yeah. In all this, we had a very good, cooperation. That is, in defense cooperation with India, Japan is that, we had, India and Mongolia is that, the joint defense exercise called as Nomadic Elephant, that is a code name. We are also active participant in the annual week-long joint training exercise called the Conquest, which is hosted in Mongolia. Sab kuch we had a very good, relation. That's why we are going for this cultural exchange program as well. Clear? And don't you think such kind of exchange program is required? Very, very much it is required to promote and preserve the common heritage of Indo-Mongolian culture. Because that is very important. That is why we need all these things, right? And also India should consider Mongolia as a green zone of economic development. Taking into consideration all the high-tech features and production skills in the so-called modernization process. And this is an article taken from the PI. We can just go through that. So I hope the clear, keywords are very clear to you. Now it's time for us to discuss the prelims facts from today's newspaper. Few topics were exclusively factual in nature, and only from the prelims perspective they are important. So quickly we'll have a look into it. Only one topic we have today. India SARS-CoV-2 Genomic Consortia. Why is it news? Because we launched the INSACOG comprising 10 labs spread across the country India. Why? Why did we do that? The government of India launched because to ascertain the status of the so-called new variants of SARS-CoV-2 in our country. In that particular perspective, this was launched by our Indian government. Clear? And what will it do, guys? Why did we launch it? It will monitor the genomic variations in the SAR and the SARS-CoV-2 on a regular basis. And for that, they will be using a network called as multi-laboratory network. And it is a high-level inter-ministerial steering committee. It also has a scientific advisory group for all the scientific and technical guidance. There are 10 different identified laboratories under this particular consortium report. Clear? And they come under the unit of National Center for Disease Control, from where they'll start sharing that with the concerned state surveillance unit and then followed by the central surveillance unit as such. Clear? These are few points that you have to keep in mind with this particular topic. That's enough. So that's all for the day. We are done with the DNA, a complete or a holistic analysis. It's time for you to practice all what you have studied. So now, here we go. The very first question, guys. Consider the following statements. India formally recognized Israel in 92 when full diplomatic relations were established between India and Israel. Second, no Indian PM has made an official visit to Israel. 3. India has never voted in support of Israel at the UN or any of its committees. So we had a question based on Israel and the concepts like that. But you see the kind of questions what UPSC will ask you, they'll be framed in this manner. Not directly from the news sentence as such, but rather from the UPSC perspective. So quick, do you think all the above is correct? Definitely you cannot, because there is no option called as 1, 2, 3 given in the answer, right? So apply the KEZ technique what I have taught you. You can easily answer. Keyword elimination comparison, quick. Okay, I can see people with A. Only Ajay with A. Where are the others? And the answer is option number D. That is, none of the above is correct. Everything is absolutely galat or wrong. That is because, see, it is said that it was in the year 1992 that India formally recognized Israel. Okay, where it is said that full diplomatic relations were established. I repeat, full diplomatic relations. Thus, if you see, India officially recognized the state of Israel in the year 1950, where full diplomatic ties were established only in 92. Did you understand? So, Israel as a state was recognized way beyond. That is, it is said that formally we recognized in the 92. No, in 1950 itself we did that. And then after that, full diplomatic relations only was in the year 92. That is why the first one was wrong. The moment you feel the first one is wrong, applying the keyword elimination comparison technique, come to your given codes. Eliminate all options having 1. A, B, C. Fatafat. So what remains is D. So you understood that even the second, third, nothing is correct. That's why the answer is D. Clear? Okay. The Central Adoption Resource Authority is an advisory body of the Ministry of Women and Child Development. Second, CARA is designated as a central authority to deal with inter-country adoptions. Third one, India has not ratified the Hague Convention on Inter-Country Adoption 93. Quickly give the right answer. So which one do you think will be the right answer? And it goes, it is B, which means only the second one is correct, whereas the first and third one is wrong because the keyword called as ministry is popping up. If you see the so-called Central Adoption Resource Authority, it is not by which ministry, it is not by Ministry of Women and Child Development. Rather, they are a statutory. They are set up in the 1990, guys, by whom? By, one second, sorry. They are set up in the 1990, of course, under the Ministry of Women and Child Development. But then why it is wrong? People will think it is ministry. Look at the keyword. There is something called as advisory. They are statutory. Okay. So now having a look to have a look at the keyword, if you see, they are autonomous and statutory body of the Ministry of Women and Child Development, not advisory body. That is why the first one had to be eliminated. Clear? And if you see our country, India, we signed and also ratified the convention called as Hague in the year 2003. When you eliminate one, automatically only first option is getting, first and the last is getting eliminated. Out of B and C you have to make a choice. And we know that the third one is also wrong because it is said India has not ratified. Actually, we have ratified. So eliminate 3 also. So only 2 is remaining and that becomes the answer. Clear? So that's all. And here we are with the UPSC mains practice question. So this is a question for you to practice today. I have taken from the editorial, that is from Polity and Governance, regarding the Tribunal Commission. Discuss the concerns associated with abolishing appellate tribunals and the need for establishing your NTC, National Tribunal Commission. You can actually write the same answer what I gave you to study, the same notes, but the keyword discuss is coming. So accordingly, your introduction, content and the subheadings should change. Clear? It should not be more than 150 words. Write and submit the answers in the Telegram channel. And one more question you have from the same editorial I have taken. It is also based on social issues regarding women workers. The pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic is having devastating social and economic consequences, further exacerbating inequalities and creating what? New vulnerabilities for women. Comment on this. Talk about every single point. Gender equality, gender gap report, the working population, labor participation, sab kuch like that. And what is happening. Focus on the importance of household burden as well. Clear? So talk on all this perspective, point wise, and then with the way forward. Conclude the answer. Clear? In a positive tone. This is how you should actually, write these answers. Write both the answers and you can submit them via the Telegram channel of mine. Nisha Nujumudeen at Unacademy for UPSC. Okay? And below the description box of this particular channel, you can see my plus course and also the free class link put up. And for subscription to Unacademy and also for, the free class, don't forget to use this particular code as such. Clear? Okay. So I hope the daily news analysis is crystal clear for you people. So no matter whatever question comes to you, you will be able to answer them with much of ease. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Shubhratri and Jai Hind.